What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Hey Lil Joey, or Lil Joey, and today I'm going to be talking about something that's pretty big in the crossover scene. But before we get to that, I wanted to give a quick shout out to all you guys who subscribed. We just hit 150 subscribers, so super thankful for that. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. You guys showed a lot of love in the last video with Red Leader. The last video I also uploaded was a Kingpin video. Unfortunately, it got taken down, but you guys were showing a lot of love on that. I might try and get it re-uploaded, but we'll see. I just wanted to say thank you guys so much. Today just happens to be a bad hair day, as you can already see. So we're repping the Spurs hat. The Spurs also just got the #1 pick, drafting Victor Wembanyama. But we're not here to talk about basketball. We're here to be talking about a much more heavily contact sport, and that is bare knuckle boxing. Recently, it has come to light that Bryce Hall will be fighting for the first time since he fought Austin McBroom. Now, where will he be fighting? He will be fighting on a bare knuckle fighting championship card, and it looks like he will not be fighting in gloves. He will actually be doing the bare knuckle boxing. Now, we've seen other influencers on bare knuckle boxing before, or bare knuckle fighting, whatever you want to call it, but it's usually in gloves. That's how Blueface got his start, and obviously they were in boxing gloves, but Bryce Hall seems to be the first influencer who will be crossing over to the bare knuckle boxing space. Before we get into who his opponent is, I did want to read this little quote that Bryce Hall tweeted out. "I could have fought some bum on bare knuckle, like Ryan Taylor, but instead I want to challenge myself and redeem myself by fighting on an actual bare knuckle boxing card. I'm not Jake Paul. I'm not fighting 50-year-old retired UFC fighters in boxing. I'm fighting a 2-0 fighter in his prime, in the sport he's prime in. I can now say I am a fighter, and I claim to be." This was a pretty powerful statement from Bryce, throwing shots at Jake Paul, and this is a pretty big step for him, stepping into a very, very, very dangerous sport against somebody who has already kind of established themselves in the sports and who knows the sport a lot more than Bryce does. So the first time I saw this, it was from Happy Punch. Happy Punch actually confirmed who Bryce was going to be fighting after he posted about it on his Instagram. Now, the fighter he will be fighting is Guillermo Perez, or Guillermo the Cutman Perez, Guillermo G Perez, or whatever you want to call him, but he's a 2-0 boxer in bare knuckle boxing. While that does sound kind of scary for someone like Bryce Hall, who's only had one boxing match against Austin McBroom, it's a little worrying, to say the least, that Bryce is going into this, especially seeing him train. I haven't seen him train with anything less than probably 12-ounce gloves in the gym. I don't know how bare knuckle boxers train, obviously, but this is kind of, for over 40 street fights. Maybe that's why he has so much confidence in this, but if I was Bryce, I wouldn't have that much confidence unless he knows something that we don't. So maybe I'm wrong. We'll just have to see. Now, the real question about his opponent is, how legit is he and how much of a threat is he to Bryce? Now, by legitimacy, I'm talking about his record. Now, we see in boxing, and especially influencer boxing, the resume of a boxer or an influencer boxer or a crossover boxer is always going to be a focal point, especially in trash talk, if your opponents that you've beat aren't necessarily up to par with how you carry yourself, pretty much. With only 2 fights, there's not really much to say. I did end up watching Guillermo's 2 fights. He pretty much wiped the floor with both of his opponents. The first fight, he actually just completely destroyed the guy. He knocked him down about 3 or 4 times. The guy was kind of flailing his arms around. It was a very KSI windmill style, per se. He ended up being knocked down 4 or 5 times, and then the ref ended up waving off the fight. It was a really one-sided fight, and the guy actually ended up fighting a couple more times on bare knuckle, but his current record stands at 1-3. Not exactly great. Guillermo's second fight was against a guy by the name of Josh Ritchie, and he ended up knocking him out in the second round. This one was a much more technical fight. Josh Ritchie wasn't really throwing that many punches. He was very hesitant and very scared. And I really was wondering why he kind of acted like this, knowing that he had a fight previously. So he's fought on bare knuckle. I was wondering kind of, what's his deal? Turns out, doing a little more research, he lost his previous 2 fights. So he was being very cautious in his fight with Guillermo. He didn't get up after 1 knockdown in the second round. So that's how that went. It doesn't look like he's fought since then. He's 0-3, so I don't know if he's gonna be fighting again on bare knuckle, but it didn't look great for him. The point of me bringing this up is because while Guillermo is a 2-0 fighter for bare knuckle and he has the experience, they technically were against bums. I'm not going to sugarcoat it or anything, and these guys couldn't fight really, at least not against him. They weren't putting up, at least Guillermo's first opponent put up more of a fight than his second opponent, but his second opponent probably looked more sound than his first opponent. Bryce Hall probably could have beaten both of his opponents either way. So if Bryce really wanted to go down more of a bare knuckle route, he could take out Perez, take out the 2 bums that Perez took out, and then continue in that. But I think Bryce knows that the bigger paydays, the bigger stages are going to be on Misfits Boxing, where he's fighting other creators, influencers, athletes, fighters. So there's a lot more opportunities there, but obviously this is a huge step, especially for an influencer, and I think that's the #1 reason why Bryce is taking this. It's not about money, it's not about anything else, but he lost his first fight. It was pretty embarrassing, and he wants to come back with a bang, and that's what he's doing on bare knuckle boxing. How big of a threat is Guillermo for Bryce? I would say he's about, out of 10, he's probably about an 8 or a 9, honestly. And that's only because Bryce really hasn't had a bare knuckle fight. He hasn't boxed in a very long time since the McBroom fight. I don't know how he's gonna come out swinging. If he comes out swinging like crazy, he's probably gonna get caught with a right or left hand and probably be knocked out. It takes less power to get knocked out in bare knuckle boxing. So if Bryce goes out there acting crazy like Guillermo's first opponent, then it's gonna be a very, 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 very short night. And it's pretty much going to be a waste. So I hope Bryce is training. I hope he's getting the fundamentals down, because this is no joke. This is very, very dangerous, and he's going up against a professional. I'd also like to point out that Guillermo also has 1 pro boxing bout, which he won, and 35 amateur boxing bouts. So this guy has a lot of experience, 38 times more experience than Bryce, because we are not including street fights. 40-0 in street fights means nothing in bare knuckle fighting. I really have no idea how this is gonna go. Don't forget to absolutely knock out that subscribe button and hit the notifications so you get notified every time I upload, because there will be lots more videos coming. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.